Hi everyone and welcome again to our IGCSE revision mathematics lessons. This time we're going to talk about circle, the properties of it, and a couple of easy formulas and exercises. Let's take a look at it. So first of all, of course, circle looks like this, kind of. And there's two things you should know about it. Of course, you should know that the perimeter of circle is oftentimes it's called circumference, okay? And also you should know that the distance from the center of circle to its circumference is what we call a radius. Okay, related to this there's a couple of formulas, of course. First formula is for finding the circumference of the circle. How do we find it? So circumference, or in other words perimeter, is equal to 2 times pi times r. I hope you guys know what is pi. You should know already. So pi is basically a ratio between circumference and diameter of the circle. Circumference over diameter. And pi is equal to, it's equal to 3.14. It's actually a very long number. 3.142. Actually, it's a very, very long number, basically unending, but just for the sake of staying sane and not going crazy from all these long numbers, we will just shorten it, kind of round it up to 3 decimal points. So 3.14 or 3.142. I think this should be enough. Also, on your calculator, there's always a button which looks like pi. Maybe not always the button, sometimes it's like an extension of the button. So in my case I have pi on the X, so there's an X button here, you see, and on top of this button if you press shift and an X, you will get pi. It's not the same on every calculator, so it's not always going to be like that, but in most cases it's probably X or something in kind of like a bottom right area of the calculator. So some of these buttons will give you pi. Okay, so you can use this button or you can just type 3.142 depending on the question. So normally in most cases it's better to use the button, of course, because it gives you a more precise value of pi and you don't have to type as much. But some questions will mention that you have to use pi equals 3.14. So in this case you have to type exactly 3.14. Again, please look out for what the question is asking. I will show you some examples of it. Alright, so this is the circumference. Again, what is diameter? I forgot to tell you. Diameter is the distance from one end of circumference to the other end of circumference, which passes through the center. Okay, so this is a diameter, and basically diameter is equal to 2 radiuses. Okay, so diameter equals to 2 radiuses. All right, and then one more formula is for area of the circle. So area of the circle is equal to pi r squared. Okay, these formulas you have to know any time of day. They will come up very often, so make sure to memorize these two formulas. Again, the circumference of the circle, or circumference in other words is perimeter, and the area, of course. So circumference and the area, two very important formulas. Let's get going. Okay, so let's get started. Here in this question, for each of the circles we have to find perimeter and the area. So let's start with number 1. So perimeter, again, remember circumference equals 2 pi r. In this case, this is the diameter, right? So its diameter is 10. Half of it is going to be the radius, right? So it's 5. So circumference equals to 2 pi r equals to 2 times pi times 5. Not a lot of space here, so I'm sorry if this is going to be a little bit messy. So 2 times pi times 5. 2 times pi times 5. So that's equal to 31 point. Let's just write it to 2 decimal points, 31.42. So that's going to be 31.42. You probably noticed that there's a little bit of a repetition here. So first of all, we divide the diameter by 2 to get the radius, and then we multiply it by 2 again. So basically we get the same thing. Well, this is because there's actually two formulas for circumference. So first one is 2 pi r, and the second formula, which doesn't really come up a lot, but second formula is pi times d. So you can also use this formula. So pi, just pi times a diameter. Again, two possible ways to find the circumference. Okay, all right, so that's for circumference. Area. So for area, we always need to know the area. Oh, sorry. For area, we need to know the radius. We need to know radius to find the area. So let's try to figure that out. So in this case, it's equal to pi times r squared, right? That's the formula for area. So it's going to be, in our case, it's going to be pi times 5 squared. So let's figure that out. Basically, pi times 5 squared, 78.54. 78.54. That's it. Okay, so for second one, I'm going to speed up a little bit. You can see that formulas are quite easy. The questions will get a little bit more complicated, but overall, this is not really a hard topic, not the one that you should practice a lot. Okay, so next one, here we have circumference again, 2 pi r, so it's 2 times pi times radius, which is 3. 2 times pi times 3, so that's 6 pi. Sometimes it's okay to just write your answer like this, like 6 pi. That's it. But in most cases, you probably actually have to find the number, right? So in this case, 6 pi is 18.85, rounded to 2 decimal points. Okay, and then B, we have pi r squared. Right, so area equals to pi times 3 squared, so that's 9 pi. 9 pi is equal to 28.27. Right. So basically, that's it for number 1 and number 2. Number 3, here basically we have half the circle, right? So we can find area of a full circle, and then we just can divide it by 2. This will give us the desired area and perimeter. So let's find it. Okay, so first of all, the perimeter, so circumference. I prefer to call it circumference because it's a little bit different from perimeter. So circumference equals to 2 pi r. Remember, this is 2 pi r is for full circle, but we don't have the full circle. We only have half of it. So that means we do 2 pi r divided by 2. And radius, don't forget, in this case, the radius is going to be, so this is diameter is 20. The radius of this circle, or in this case, this is called semicircle. Okay, so this is what we call semicircle. That means half the circle. So 10 is the radius of the circle, right? So 2 pi r divided by 2, we can just cancel 2. So it's just pi r, which is equal to pi times 10. That's just like 31.42. 31.42. Okay, that's for perimeter / circumference. B, the area, again the same thing. So pi r squared is the formula for area, but because we only have half the circle, we divide it by 2. All right, so we're gonna get a pi times what was it? Radius is 10, so pi times 10 squared. All of this divided by 10. Nope, not just this part. Oops. Yeah, let me do it again. So pi times 10 squared divided by 2. So that's 157.08. All right, so let's keep going. I obviously didn't really think much about the space in here. I'll just try to separate it like this, kind of. Okay, so for number 4, oh, that's interesting, because here we have, you see, we have kind of like a, so this is a rectangle here. This part is a rectangle, and this part is a semicircle. So our shape is a complex shape, which actually consists of rectangle and semicircle combined together in this case. So to find the perimeter of this thing, of course, we have to figure out the dimensions. We don't know some dimensions here, so for once we don't know what is the side of this rectangle, for example. But we can figure it out quite easily. So we know that the radius, so we know that, again, we know that diameter is 8. So that means that radius is going to be half of it, which is 4. And remember, this is the radius, but also this is the radius. So again, distance from center to circumference in any point is the radius. So this is 4, and also this is 4 as well, which gives us, so the rest of this distance is going to be 3, right? So we have 3 and 4, 3 here and then 4 here, and together they make up 7, right? 4 plus 3 is equal to 7, right? So now we know the dimensions of rectangles. So there's 3 here and 3 here, all right? So to find actually, to find perimeter in this case, we have to add all the sides together. In this case, we have actually kind of like 4 sides. So this side, which is 3, 8, 3, and also this semicircle. Okay, so let's write it down. So we have 3 plus 8 plus 3, and how do we find circumference of the semicircle? Of course, we take the full circumference, so that's 2 pi r, 2 times pi times radius. In this case, the radius is 4. And then all of this, so this would be normal circumference, but because we only have half the circle, right? So we have to divide this full circumference by 2. All right, so what we have is 14 plus 4 pi in the end, right? So we have 3 plus 8 plus 3 is 13. And then this is pi times 4. We can write it as 4 pi. Oops, not 1, 4 pi. Oh my goodness. I don't know what happens to my fingers today. Yeah, here we go. So 26.57. Notice that there's no units here, so you don't need to write them. A little bit less things to worry about. Okay, and as to the second part, we have to find the area. So in this case, area is going to be area of rectangle plus area of this semicircle. Right, so again, this area, so area of this rectangle plus this area, the area of semicircle. Let's figure this out. I'll probably zoom in a little bit. So area of rectangle is quite easy to find. It's just this side times this side. So that's just 3 times 8. And then area of semicircle is going to be pi r squared divided by 2. So again, normal circle is just pi r squared, remember? So normally for a circle the area is pi r squared, but because we only have half the circle, we divide it by 2, this formula. Okay, let's do it. Plus pi r squared plus pi times 4 squared divided by 2. So that's going to be 24 plus, so 4 squared is 16. So 16 pi divided by 2 is 8 pi. 24 plus 8 pi. $49.13. That's 49.13. And at this point, I feel like we are kind of running out of space. I will try to somehow separate this. Okay, I'll probably skip number 5. So this is for you guys. Again, if you have some time, you can just pause this video. You know why I'm skipping it actually, because I just don't have space. But anyway, if you have some time, so please pause this video and try to figure out number 5 by yourself. It's quite easy actually to figure out, especially if you do this, if you split it in two parts. It's going to be quite easy to figure out. Okay, and let's do number 6 actually. Number 6 is probably even easier than number 5. So let's do it. It's so easy, right? Probably should give myself some more space. Okay, so this is for number 6. So a perimeter of this shape. So we have 3 sides in here. So we have, I would give them different colors so that you guys are not confused. So this is side number 1. This is side number 2. And this is curved side, which we can call side number 3, right? So again, you see 1, 2, and 3, and we have to add them all together. So first side, again, remember, because this used to be a circle. I mean, if we would have, we can just kind of imagine that this used to be a full circle like this, right? Oh, I gotta buy a new cable or something. Okay, so and what happened to the circle? It got cut in 4 parts, right? There's 4 parts in here. Only one of them is left. So this is what we call a quarter circle. So this shape is called a quarter circle. Quarter circle. So the 4th part of a circle, right? But remember, this is still the radius. This is the radius of this quarter circle, and this is also the radius. So this is also equal to 7 centimeters. And this side, the blue side, is going to be equal to, a circumference. So the formula for circumference is 2 pi r divided by 4. All right, so we only have 4th part of the circle, so we only have 4 parts of the circumference left, right? So we take normal formula for circumference and we divide it by 4. So that's going to be equal to, in our case, it's going to be 2 times pi times radius is 7 in this case, and then all of this divided by 4. All right, this will give us, so 2 and 4 can be cancelled. This is going to be 2, so this is going to be equal to 3.5 pi. And 3.5 pi is equal to 10. We could say 11. I think we could just round it up to 11. It's very, very close. So 3.5 pi is equal to 11. And here we go. So this circumference, the blue side, the so-called blue side, is equal to 11, we could say. Let's erase these numbers to avoid confusion. So the blue side is 11 here. And finally, to find the perimeter, we can just add all 3 sides. So 7 plus 7 plus 11 is equal to what? Equals to 25. And this is a very classic, not classic, but like a really common question where you have to find a perimeter of quarter circle and also a semicircle like here. So get used to these, like question number 3 and question number 6. You will see questions like this very, very often. I'm sorry for this mess, guys. Next time I'll try to keep it more tidy, kind of. All right, and a couple more complicated questions. So yeah, those are pretty cool. So those are pretty interesting. Number 10. So and I've finally here I have some space kind of left. Let me try to again separate this. Okay, hopefully I have enough space left for all the questions. Okay, let's start with number 10. So again, we have to find both. Oh, I forgot about one thing. I forgot to find area in here. Actually, it's way easier than to find the perimeter. We just find, it's just like we would find area of a full circle, which would be this area. It would be pi r squared. But then we have to divide this full area by 4 because we only have the fourth part left. So it's going to be pi times 7 squared divided by 4. Let's just type it in the calculator like this. So we have pi times 7 squared is 49 times 49 divided by 4. Yeah, 38.48. It's equal to 38.48, like this. Okay, so let's do the next one very quickly. So number 10, you have to find the perimeter. This one is quite interesting, as you can see. So here we have 3 semicircles: semicircle 1, semicircle 2, and semicircle 3. They are all the same size because, as you can see, this triangle here is equilateral triangle because all angles are the same. So it means that all sides are also the same. It means that all sides are 2 units long. Okay, so and this side, these sides are also equal to the diameters of the circles. So in this case, diameter is 2. So that means that radius is going to be what? That's right, it's going to be 1. So radius is going to be 1 for each of these circles, okay? Each of them have a radius of 1, okay? And to find the total perimeter, basically we just have to add, we have to multiply by 3 the circumference of a semicircle with radius of 1, right? So it's going to be 3 times, because we have 3 of them, right? 1, 2, 3 semicircles with radius of 1. So 3 times 2 pi r, so that's the circumference formula. But for semicircle, we have to divide it by 2. So we have to halve it because it's half the circle. And in this case, the radius is equal to 1. So it's 3 times pi, basically. 3 times pi times 1, if you want to write it like that, because again, the radius is 1. So 3 times pi would be equal to 3 pi equals to 9.42. 9.42, so that's quite easy. Okay, so next part is probably a bit more interesting. So in next part, we have to find the area of this whole shape. And again, we can split it actually. To find area, we probably have to split it in 4 parts. All right, so we could say that the full area of this weird shape, I could just make a sketch here. It's going to look ugly, very ugly as always. Yeah, so full area of this weird shape. What does it even look like? I don't know. You guys can write in the comments, I guess. Is equal to what? What is going to be full area of this weird shape? It's going to be 3 areas of semicircles, right? So this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. They're all the same areas. So 3 areas of semicircles plus 1 area of this equilateral triangle, which is in the center. That's it. And let's write it down. So 3 areas of semicircles. So 3 times pi times r squared. So in this case, radius is 1. So pi times 1 squared divided by 2. Remember, normal area of circle, normal formula for area of circle is pi r squared. But if it's a semicircle, the formula becomes pi r squared divided by 2. So we have 3 times, because we have 3 semicircles, times pi r squared over 2, right? And then plus, how do we find area of this circle? Well, we can find, we can use the formula which we learned in last lesson, which is side times sine of angle between them. So let's use this formula. So side, this side is 2, they are all 2 actually. So side times side, this side, times sine of angle between them. And actually forgot about something. Props if you guys can see it, I forgot about 1/2. So also there's 1/2 here. So it's actually 1/2 times side times angle, sine of angle between them. I'm sorry, this space is totally, well, that's my bad. I didn't really think about the space too much. Anyway, so this is basically it. This is the formula. We can just insert this in the calculator. Right, we can actually simplify it a little bit. So here you're gonna have 3/2 pi, and basically times 2 sines of 60. So 3 pi, we could say 3 pi over 2, you could say that, plus 2 sines of 60. 6.44 is the answer in this case. 6.44. Yeah, totally no space. I don't know how to fit this here. Yeah. 6.44, like this. So that's the answer. Oh, next one is quite interesting. I like it. And the last one is quite similar to the number 11 actually. So here we have a lot of interesting stuff going on. So we have, first of all, we have a big circle here. There's a big circle, and the radius of this big circle is 4, right? And then we also have 2 small circles clearly here. Both of them have radius of what? It's going to be 2, right? And to find the area is going to be quite an easy task, but to find the perimeter is going to be a bit more complicated. So perimeter of the shape actually consists of 3 parts actually. So it's this half circumference, then it's also this half circumference, and this half circumference. So there's 3, let me actually outline this. So there's the first one, that's the first part, the perimeter, this half circumference, then there's another part, this half circumference, and finally the last part, it's this half circumference. You see the red and green part are basically the same, if you can see that. So let's figure it out. So perimeter equals to what? So what is going to be the biggest one? Let's give them some numbers. Okay, so this is number 1, this is number 2, and this is going to be number 3. All right, so circumference 1 plus circumference 2 plus circumference 3, half circumference, right? In this case. So first one, let's write it's half, right? It's half circumference. So for first one, it's going to be half of what circumference? It's going to be half of circumference of the circle with radius 4, right? So radius of the circle is 4. So it's 1/2 times 2 times pi times r, radius is 4 in this case, right? Plus, and again, C2 and C3 is the same thing, so we can just kind of like make them 1. So 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1, so plus just one thing. But okay, anyway, let's just write it together. Let's just write it separately. So 1/2 times 2 times pi. In this case, the rest of radius is 2. All right, so radius of this small circle is going to be 2. And this small circle has the same properties, absolutely the same, everything same. So it's also going to be basically the same thing. 1/2 times 2 times pi times 2. So we can cancel this whole thing, and basically what we have is we just have 4 pi plus 4 pi plus what? Plus 2 pi plus another 2 pi. And that's basically it. So we get 8 pi, which is equal to 25.13. 25.13 is a full perimeter. Again, we don't have space here for B, but I can tell you guys that B is actually quite easy to find. So again, in B we have to find the area, and area of this shape is basically half the area of the big circle. Because if we take this part, that I just outlined, and if we move it here, we will get a perfect semicircle, right? So it's just going to be a semicircle with a radius of 4 centimeters, right? So we just do pi r. Actually, I can just write it somewhere here. I hope it's not too obtrusive. So for B, we just do pi r squared divided by 2. And in this case, r radius is 4. Pi times 4 squared divided by 2. So that's 8 pi. Actually the same. The area is the same as circumference. That's interesting. So 25. This is coincidental. Normally it's like, it's not always like this. So just don't take this as a rule. So 25.13, the same area. Okay. And the last question, guys, I want you to try and figure out this question yourself. So maybe pause the video or take a screenshot. Try to figure it out. In one of my next videos, I will explain it as well. Okay, that's it. It's been really nice to teach you guys this lesson, and see you next time.